Hi everyone, so today we're going to be doing a 2D After Effects character rigging tutorial. To give you all a heads up, the plugins that we're going to be using within this After Effects tutorial are Rubber Hose and Joysticks and Sliders. So these are fantastic After Effects plugins and they make life so much easier when rigging a 2D character. If you want to purchase or learn more about these plugins after the tutorial is completed, I've left some links in the description below. Okay, so to start off, I'm going to quickly open up the Illustrator file that contains my character. So here she is, our little girl character. So if you wish to animate a character from Illustrator into After Effects, like I've done here, then you must make sure that all the elements you wish to animate are in separate layers and named correctly. So as you can see here, all of my little elements and stuff like that make up the girl are on separate and individual layers. So her hair is on one layer, her eyes, eyebrows, all separate layers. So when your character is complete and all the layers have been separated, it's time to move into After Effects. So we're just going to open up After Effects really quickly. So this is what we're going to be hopefully going to achieve by the end of the day. So we're going to be rigging up our little character, having mouth rigs, facial rigs, make sure she can close and open her eyes. So hopefully by the end of this tutorial, we'll be able to have a full-on character rig that resembles something like this. So it is a pretty simplistic character and the rig is pretty simplistic as well. But yeah, hopefully this will just give you the basics of how to rig a simple character and and then animate from there. So we're just going to create a new project. I do want to save that. And we're going to import in our Illustrator composition. So we're going to go to where it has been saved. So before you click in Import, down the bottom on the left-hand side, there is a drop box that says Import As. So here it is there. Change this from footage to composition retain layers. So I'm just going to do that really quickly. So it's made its own composition. When we open this up, we have our little girl character and all of her layers are all within this After Effects composition as well. So it's not just importing as a whole, just as one flat image. We get to keep all of our layers that we've already saved in our Illustrator file. So now to begin, what we want to do is have a joystick that controls the direction of the face. So to do this, we're going to go up to Window and select Joysticks and Sliders. So this should make a small window pop up if it hasn't already. So sometimes it kind of opens up when you just open up After Effects. So we're just going to go down on the left-hand side and select everything to do with her face. So we want to grab her eyebrows, her eyes, cheeks. Don't really want to grab her fringe. We just want to grab probably her mouth, and that's probably it for the time being. All right, awesome. Now what we're going to do, since we've selected all the facial features, we're just going to hit P on the keyboard to bring out the position, and we're just going to hit the keyframe. Awesome. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to move up one frame. So the shortcut for this is just to hit page down on your keyboard, and we're just going to go paste origin. This will create a copy of your first frame. Now what we're going to do is create the position for the right side of the head. We're going to do this by shifting our facial features over slightly to give the head a 3D appearance. So I'm going to be moving the ears closer and further away to the head as it turns. We're just going to move all of our facial features just to the right. And with the ears, I'm going to be doing exactly the same process, hitting P, setting a keyframe, going to the next frame, hitting origin, and I'm going to move the left ear out a little bit and the right ear in. So it looks as though the head is actually turning. Cool. All right. So now that that's done, we're going to do the same process again. We're going to hit page down and we're going to select the layers. Okay, cool. and we are going to paste the origin again, and now we're going to go to the left side and the mouth. That is pretty important as well. We're just going to do the same thing that we did with the ears. Just going to grab the right ear this time and move it out slightly, and we're going to grab the left ear and move it in. Cool, so we're just going to have a little bit of a look, see if those ears kind of the same. This one needs to be in a little bit more, I think, just so they're even. Okay, cool. And once again, we're just going to select all of our elements that we want to set our controls to. Hit page down to go up another frame, and then go paste origin again. So this time we're going to move our head upwards, and we'll just move our head up. And I'm just going to grab the ears, and I'm actually going to move them down. So what I might actually do here is the hair, it's not actually moving. When you move your head up, the hair will probably come down. And since she is moving her head up as well, the fringe is kind of staying put, which looks a little bit odd. So we might just have to animate that as well. So what we'll do is we'll come into the fringe, and what we might just have to do is just hit P, and I'm just going to quickly set keyframes for all of these. Then what I'm going to do is adjust it on this one so that it actually goes upwards a little bit. That still looks a little bit weird. Looks a little bit better, but what we might actually have to do is also animate the scale. So we're just going to squish this down a little bit. Okay, it's starting to look a little bit better. And we're going to do the same process with the piggy tails. So we're just going to set a few keyframes just so it's like the rest of them. And we're just going to move this. Do it with the same one. P again. Set a few keyframes. Now what I'm starting to notice is that when she actually turns her head, it would make a lot more sense if the piggy tails actually moved as well. So we can adjust this really quickly and do kind of like the same process as what we did with the ears. So when she's turning, I want this side to kind of hide away behind her head. And with this one, as she's turning her head, I want it to kind of reveal a little bit more. And when she's turning her head the opposite way, I want the same thing to happen again. So let's just see how that looks now. Yeah, it's looking a little bit better. Just want to make sure that they're even. Cool. So now that we have a left, right, and an up, all we need now is just the down position. So we're just going to select these and go paste origin again. What we're going to do is just with the pigtails, as she's moving her head down, we're going to paste origin and move them up a little bit. And we might also move the ears up a bit as well. Now let's just have a little bit of a look. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Sweet. So once this process is done, what we're going to do is we're going to select all of the layers that we've keyframed. Right, and the piggy tails. So those are all the layers that we've keyframed. We're going to go out to the joysticks and sliders little window, and we're going to create a new joystick. So we're just going to name it probably face rig. There we go. And we have our little control. So the red null in the middle, which is this little guy here, will be your main control, while the blue outer box is representing the boundaries of the control. So if we move our little character around, or the null around, we can see that our character's face moves as well. And if we move it towards this box or outside of this box, that's as far as it's going to move. So just giving us a little kind of area of how far our character's face can move to. Cool. So we're just going to scale this down. I'm just going to grab the null and just scale it down a little bit. You don't need it that large, and I'm just going to bring it over here. I'm just going to zero this out. And just to keep it a little bit structured, I'm just going to rename this, hopefully not with black text. Okay, perfect. Since we are going to be creating quite a lot of controls, we just want to keep them labeled just so we don't get too confused. So now we have our little face rig, all looking nice and adorable. We're going to start making some additional rigs. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create eyelids. So if we look down, we haven't actually created any eyelids in our Illustrator files. So we're just going to create a solid in After Effects, and we're just going to make our own little eyelids. So I got to Layer, New, and go Shape Layer. I'm going to grab the pen tool, and we're just going to create a rough looking eyelid. Okay, so obviously we do not want a stroke with that. And we just want to change the fill to her skin color. That's a little better. And we're just going to grab the center point and just adjust it so it's actually in the center of our shape layer. Cool. I'm just going to put it there for the time being. Now we're just going to create another shape layer. Going to create another shape layer, and this is going to be the bottom lid. Also, it doesn't matter that at the moment it's over the top of the fringe, because we're just going to rearrange the layers so it's just below the fringe, so you won't be able to see it. Okay, cool. So we have both our top and bottom eyelid. So now that we have that, we're just going to center that bottom lid again, just as we did with the top lid. Just double check everything. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do is we're just going to Control D and just duplicate this. And we're going to go up to Layer, Transform, and Flip Horizontal. So this is just going to give us a duplicate of our eyelids, so we just don't have to make them again. Great. So now that we have our little eyelids, we're going to set them up so that we can animate them and control them with a slider control. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit P on the keyboard, bring up the position, and set a key pose. Then we're going to go to page down, go to the next frame, and we're going to close them. So I might just stretch this one out a little bit. Okay, cool. So open, close, perfect. We're just going to be doing it the same one to the right eyelid now. So we'll select both of the layers, hit P, hit the stopwatch to set a keyframe, and we're just going to close these guys as well. I'll just stretch this out. Okay, cool. Open, close, perfect, done. So now that we have our open and close, we're going to select all of our layers. So both the top eyelids and the bottom eyelids, and we're going to go to the sliders tab. So instead of the joysticks, we're going to be focusing on sliders now, and we're going to be doing the same process. So now that we've created our keyframes, we're just going to create a new slider. So we're just going to name this eyelids, and it's going to create a null for us. So here is our null. Awesome. And with this null, we're now going to create a slider. So we're just going to, once the null is actually selected, we're going to go down and hit create. Cool. And it's going to create our little slider for us. So if we just move it around, slide it, our little character blinks. Perfect. So I'm just going to grab this and just move it over. put it over here for the time being. So we can rename it, which is fantastic. So we can keep it all organized. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to make sure that the fringe is on top of these layers. So it's not that, so it's not as creepy anymore. So we're just going to grab the fringe layer and we're just going to drag it and drop it over the top. Now we're also going to grab the eyebrows, just move them over the top as well because we want to see them. And we're also going to grab the left and right cheek. Now, we're going to encounter a little bit of an issue. So this issue is when we move our face around, the eyelids are not going to follow. So to fix this, we're just going to grab the lower and upper eyelid, and we're just going to parent it to the eye. So this is the right eyelid. So we're going to parent it to the right eye, and we're going to do the same with the left. So we're just going to select that and parent it to the left eye. So now, when the face moves around, so does the eyelids. So I'm having a little bit of an issue with the shading on her face. So we might just have to grab the shading layer as well. And okay, that's better. She looks a little bit creepy now. All right, cool. So now we have our face rig. Perfect. So our face and our eye blinks. Great. So now what we want to do is we want to create a mouth rig. So now we have the face moving around and the eyes blinking. We might want her to actually move her mouth around. So to do this, we are going to, just going to minimize these layers for a second and find her mouth layer. Here it is. Now we're going to quickly create a mouth rig. So to do this, we're going to create a shape layer from our mouth layer. So to do this, right click on the mouth layer and go to create shapes from vector layer. Select this. Just to make sure that all of these points are correct, I'm just going to move them, and you can see that this one isn't correct at the moment. I don't want additional points hiding throughout our solids, so I'm just going to get rid of these guys. Just going to bring it back out again. Okay, cool. So we have our mouth. Sweet. So you can see just below that this is our Illustrator mouth that we created. And just above it, when we right-clicked and selected Create Shapes from Vector Layer, a new layer has been created over the top of it, which is a new shape layer. So it's just a duplicate, but instead we can actually edit this. So it actually has points and vertices that we can actually animate. So now that we have this mouth that we can actually manipulate, we're going to create a few little poses for it so we can eventually create a control and move it around. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go down, and instead of animating the position, we're going to be animating the paths. So we're going to go down and keyframe the path. So it's a very similar process to the head. So we're going to open up joysticks and sliders again. And now that we've set a keyframe, we're going to go to page down and we're going to hit origin. So how I want the joystick to behave is when I move the joystick upwards, I want the mouth to close. When the joystick is moved to the bottom, I want the mouth to open wide. And when it's moved from left to right, I want the mouth to move as well. So to do this, our first keyframe is going to be closed. So what we're going to do is we're just going to grab this vector and close it. So open, close. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the next frame. We're going to go paste origin. And since our first keyframe is now the closed one, the origin is going to be closed instead of open. So we have closed, open, and now what we're going to do is move it slightly to the right. So when we move our mouth rig around, the mouth will move left and right. Because at the moment, when we move our face left and right, the mouth doesn't really deform. So we want that to happen. So all we have to do is just move the bottom vertice just to the left or right. Back this way just a little bit, because you can see if I move it too far, it creates that weird little line over here. So I just move it there. So once these keyframes have been done, because all we need to make is just 3 keyframes. We don't need to make the additional keyframes. We're just going to select this layer. We're going to make sure that we're in the sliders menu, and we're going to create a slider. So we're just going to hit this button here, name this mouth, and it's just going to create a null for us. So it's not actually going to create the full slider. It's just going to create this null. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to connect these slider controls to a joystick so that it's easier for us to animate and control. So to do this, we're going to go to the sliders controls and we're going to hit the keyframe, or the stopwatch button to set a keyframe. Then we're going to go to the mouth null and we're just going to hit U on the keyboard. Might just have to drag these bad boys back to the beginning. Perfect. Cool. So we're just going to go ahead to the next frame, page down. Actually, before we do that, what we want to do is what I would like is when my control is in the middle, in the center, like here, I want the mouth to be partially opened. So not completely open, I only want it to be partially opened. So for this, I'm just going to set my value to 50. So it's partially opened. Then I'm going to go down to the next keyframe and hit origin. Nothing will obviously change because that was my first keyframe. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set this to 100. So this should make the mouth go right. Yep, perfect. And then I'm going to set origin again and make this minus 100 to make it go left. So we have partially opened, left, right. Now what we want is to have the mouth closed. So we're going to go paste to origin again, and we're going to set the top value to 0. So it's closed. And then finally, we're going to go page down again, and we're going to hit origin, and we're going to make the mouth completely open. And by doing this, we're just going to set the value to 100. So we should have half, right, left, closed, and open. Fantastic. So now that we have her mouth chomping away, what we're going to do now is go to the joysticks panel. So we're still in the sliders panel. We're just going to hit this tab and just make sure that we're in the joysticks panel. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new joystick. So I'll call this mouth rig. Perfect. So now that we have our mouth rig, what we might just do once again is just shrink this down. And I'm just going to grab the middle and just make sure this works. Perfect. Munch, 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 munch. All right, that's great. So now that we have our mouth moving around, we're just going to double check that it works with the face. Now, we won't need to parent the mouth to the face because this layer here is actually still connected with this Illustrator mouth. So since this mouth is connected to this rig, the face rig, we shouldn't have to parent it. We'll just have a little bit of a look. I could be wrong. Okay, cool. So there's no need to parent the mouth shape layer to anything, which is good. So we have our face, we have our mouth munching away. If we wanted to kind of yawn, or if we go in this general direction, we can make her mouth deform in a way that it looks like it's, instead of being centered, it looks like it's actually turning with her head, which is something always nice to have. And we also have our slider control that makes her blink, which is always nice to have. So we have our little face rig all set up now. So for the second part of this tutorial, I'm going to be going through the rest of the rig. So that's going to be rigging up the arms, the legs, maybe even creating some little foot controls, but that's going to be in the second part. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed it.